Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Conversations with Mother. First off, we want to kick off saying Happy Pride.
Happy Pride!
Happy Pride to all you who celebrate and all you who don't.
Yes. May it be a most uncomfortable month for those who do not celebrate.
Amen. I love your t-shirt.
Thank
too.
you.
So, well, in the last episode, we had talked about family systems, the patterns, the roles, loops, unspoken rules that can keep people stuck in the same emotional dance. We talked about fixers, peacekeepers, avoiders, truth tellers, emotional weather, and the way families can repeat the same fight with slightly different outfits. Same choice, new shirt. Speaking of new shirt. But today we're moving into what happens when those patterns start to cause harm, because patterns do not usually stay theoretical. Sorry, words are hard this morning. They show up in real moments. Someone feels dismissed. Trust starts getting thinner. People pull away. Someone stops feeling emotionally safe. Or everyone's just exhausted and pretending they are fine, which historically is a very suspicious word.
Yes, it is.
I'm fine. It's fine.
It's fine. I'm not mad.
But that break in connection is called rupture. And so today we're talking about rupture and repair, what it means when connection breaks, what real repair actually requires, and what happens when one person wants repair, but the other person will not take accountability. And this one is kind of personal for both of us in different ways, but especially for me. I am still kind of in the rupture part of healing with my own mother. So we're going to talk about this carefully and honestly, without turning one into basically the flat out villain, because I don't think anybody's the flat out villain in this. But even though the brain doesn't sometimes even though the brain does sometimes love a very simple villain, it is easier than holding complexity. And unfortunately, this podcast keeps insisting we be emotionally grown, which is very rude.
What? Be emotionally grown? We're supposed to at least try. And right. Very rude, right?
Yes. Very rude.
Growth is deeply inconvenient. It's so much easier just to say how we are, right? And I really appreciate you naming that this is personal for you, because I think that matters, right? None of us are sitting in a clean, shiny, like everything is repaired and now everyone has matching pajamas for Christmas version of the story. Some people are still in the rupture, like actively. Some people are still waiting for accountability that unfortunately may not come. Some people are trying to heal without getting the apology, the conversation, or the change behavior that we feel that we need. And so today is not going to just be an episode where we tell people to forgive when they're ready, make peace just to keep everyone else comfortable, or pretend harm didn't happen because someone else doesn't want to talk about it. That's not what we're doing here. Not at all. We're going to talk about what repair actually looks like, when it is possible, what it actually requires, and how to care for yourself when repair is not available yet or may not ever be available at all.
So let's start super simple then. What is rupture? Because it sounds dramatic, like someone should be wearing a cape and standing in the rain, but rupture can actually be pretty everyday.
It is. It's every day. So like rupture is a break in connection. So when we talk about it, it is sometimes it's really obvious. It might be betrayal, a major lie, abandonment, abuse. Sometimes it's just a painful cutoff, like just somebody just stops talking to you and you have no idea why. Or it could be a moment where trust changes in a way that you just can't ignore. But rupture can also happen in smaller moments.
Mhm.
And it builds like over time. It can be the moments you needed comfort and got criticism instead. The conversation where you shared something really vulnerable and not only felt dismissed, but felt like you needed to be fixed and your situation needed to be corrected. Yeah, that one hits, right?
Mhm.
The repeated silence that slowly taught you, like, just don't reach out anymore. But
Mhm.
rupture is not always about how big the event looks from like the outside. It's about what happens to that connection. So one person may think that's not a big deal, but the other person may be sitting there thinking, wow, that confirmed something that I was really already afraid was true. And I'm not safe here anymore. And I'm not heard here. I don't matter here. My feelings don't matter here. And I'm not a project that needs to be fixed. So that's why rupture can be so confusing. The outside event may look small, but inside the relationship, it can carry years of history.
Well, so rupture is not just what happened, it is also what that moment meant inside the relationship. The event is the thing, but the rupture is the impact on the connection.
Yes, exactly. So, and that's, why repair can't only be, well, I didn't mean it that way. So the intent matters, but impact is where the rupture lives, right? So if I step on your foot, we've made this analogy before. If I step on your foot, I may have not meant to hurt you, but your foot still hurts. And if my first response is, well, I didn't intend to step on your foot, so you should stop limping, now we have problems. We have the original hurt and then we have the failure to respond to the hurt. How dare you be hurt?
Thank you for the foot memoir, but my toe is still screaming.
Yes, that, the toe would like some accountability, please. Gosh, acknowledge it.
Acknowledge it. Acknowledge me. I'm screaming. But no, so for our listeners and stuff, one useful question might be like, when connection broke, what happened? What did it mean? And what did the person who was hurt need in that moment? Because repair starts when we stop arguing only about the event and start getting curious about the impact of it. And I think a lot of people hear the word rupture and assume it means the relationship is doomed. Like connection broke, roll credits, add music, everyone exits separately. But rupture is not always the end, right?
Right. So rupture is not automatically the end. Like that's not and how when we have healthy relationships, which are really hard to find. Not gonna lie, they take a lot of work. But in healthy relationships, we have rupture that happens on a daily basis, even sometimes. And people misunderstand each other. People will just completely miss each other with their intent. People get defensive. People have bad days. Do you have bad days?
I have horrible days sometimes.
People say things in the wrong way. And it's okay. People shut down when somebody says something the wrong way. And people overreact. People forget that everyone else cannot read the very dramatic group chat happening inside your own head.
Oh, and some of those are so much fun, filled with memes and emojis.
Absolutely. You can't do it without memes. But the difference between healthier and less healthy relationships is not that the healthy relationships never rupture, because it happens. The difference is whether people can come back to the rupture with care. Mm-hmm. So, we need to be able to have the open and honest communication where repair begins with someone saying, hey, something happened here and it feels uncomfortable and I'm willing to look at it and I want to acknowledge and I want to look at my part in this and my role in this. And I want to talk and care about your experience in this. And I want to change how I show up.
Mm. So the repair is not just the sorry you feel that way.
No.
No.
I'm saying you feel that way. That's a gaslighting. Like, that's such a gaslighting like term for me. But sorry you feel that way is an apology shaped wallpaper. It looks like something happened, but the wall is cracked, behind it. A real repair has substance. It includes acknowledgement, responsibility, care for impact. And unfortunately, it also comes with the hardest part, change behavior.
Yeah. Well, so maybe sorry, it's a live show. We're having technical difficulties.
Yes, we are.
But that's okay. We're gonna keep rolling with it, so it's all good. So maybe the question is not like, do we ever hurt each other? Because spoiler alert, in case you didn't know, humans are out here humaning every single day. So the question is, what happens after?
What does happen after? That's the big question.
Yeah.
We talk about how sometimes you're going to repair on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you're going to repair together. And, we have to talk about what repair actually requires, because that's where we all get stuck. And that's an easy place to get stuck. Like, all this shit's happening. What do we do? And for a lot of people, repair is just, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I shouldn't say it that way. But apology is only one part of the repair, right? So sometimes an apology is not actually a repair, because people say it like, I'm sorry. And it's not. They're just not taking accountability. Mm-hmm. So it is just words standing near repair, hoping nobody notices.
Like a cardboard cutout of accountability. Like,
let's just put that there.
We're just going to stand it right here.
Right. So it looks like convincing from far away.
Yeah.
And it's super flimsy close up, because it's just an apology. It's just words, right? So real repair, it's so hard. Mm-hmm. It's hard. Like, it's hard to talk about, because you have to name what happened without shrinking it down for someone else's comfort. This means being able to say, like, hey, something broke here, like, big time, instead of pretending that time fixed it. And it's that analogy of, like, when you get into a fight and somebody will just be like, okay, we'll give it some time, and they walk away from the fight, and then they come back and they act like it didn't happen.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel good. So the repair asks you to understand what that impact was. And this is where we stop leading with, that's not what I meant, and start asking, hey, we get curious. I'm sorry. Like, what did that mean for you? Like, how did that feel for you? But it's not the whole story. So if the other person is hurt, impact has to be a part of that conversation. Yeah. And it requires that accountability. And accountability is not the same thing as self-destruction. It's not. I ruin everything. No matter what I say, I'm not saying the right thing. I should just go live in a cave with my shame. Accountability is being able to see, I can see my part.
Yeah.
I can own what I did. And I can also recognize that my behavior had an impact, and I can choose differently next time. Maybe, you know, those things might happen. And then sometimes the bigger piece just requires changed behavior. It requires that action. At some point, people need evidence. Words only go so far, right? Actions, take those words and play them out. We had a conversation yesterday where we talked about how there are some people who believe love is a noun. It's a person, place or thing.
Yeah.
And then there's some of us who use love as a verb, where we put a lot of action into it. And that's where the repair happens, is when we put that action into it. And we're not just expecting like, you're a person, place, or thing. You're permanent in this. You're a permanent fixture in here. And so that, you know, the repair only works in that sense if one person can stay quiet, swallow the hurt, and they pretend everything that it's okay. Wait, no, that's not repair. Sorry, that's what we want to do.
That's what I was gonna say. That's like.
Oh my god, knee-jerk reaction.
You were saying like, if repair. How about we say if repair only works by being quiet, swallowing the hurt.
Can you tell? There's a little trauma there. How long do we do that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How long do you sit back and
that was pretty knee-jerk.
Yeah. So if I just sit back and be quiet and I pretend like this didn't happen, I'm okay. It's fine. It's fine. That's not repair. That's emotional duct tape. It may hold for like a minute, but everyone knows that something is still falling apart.
So real repair is not just like I said, I'm sorry, why are you still upset? It's naming the rupture, understanding the impact, taking accountability, changing behavior, and respecting boundaries, which unfortunately more work than my bad, but probably why my bad does not heal generations of emotional weirdness.
Yeah, but I totally wanted to be like, my bad. Like, that was my knee-jerk reaction. It's never done. We're never done learning.
Yeah. So for listeners, maybe this is a good place to ask, like, have I been offered repair, or have I only been offered, words that sound like repair? And then on the other side, when someone tells me I hurt them, do I move toward repair, or do I move toward defending myself? And this is the part I want to sit with for a minute, because not everyone is dealing with a relationship where repair is possible right now. Some people are still in the rupture. Some people are trying to heal, while the other person will not acknowledge what happened. And as I said at the beginning, like, this is kind of where I'm at with my own mother, is that I'm not in the repair part yet. I'm still in the rupture, because for me, accountability has not happened. The impact, taking accountability for the impact that actions were done, hasn't happened.
Yeah.
In my opinion. It's my perspective. That's the way I feel about it.
But your perspective is valid.
Yeah.
And that's the thing where, you know, like, I appreciate you being vulnerable in that way, but that's valid. Like, I don't get to dismiss your feelings just because they're your feelings, right? So we can go as gently as you want here, because I know, like, me, literally, my trauma brain is hearing this, and I'm like, man, all these things, right? Because on my end, there was never any accountability either. And then it just stopped. It's done. So we all don't have to share anything. Both of us don't have to share any details that we don't want public. But I think your experience matters, because so many people are right in that moment. They're not in the tidy repair story. No, I don't need tidy. No, it's never clean. It is never tidy. But they're in the part where they're asking, how do I heal when the person who hurt me can't even own it?
Yeah. I can have empathy for someone's pain and still need them to be accountable for how their pain affected me.
Yes.
And that's a big one, because there were some actions taken around the death of my grandmother that just didn't sit right with me. And the hurt that came along with that hasn't been acknowledged.
Yeah.
The impact that had on me hasn't been acknowledged. The accountability, there's no step up there. And that was pretty much the rupture. Like that was, that was back in 2020.
Yeah.
That was pretty much the rupture of it. Was that started there, and then slowly over time more and more things added on to it. And from there, there's just no accountability taken on the other person's side. I am willing and open to opportunities in the future. That door is not shut. That's the thing,
right?
But in the process of doing so, like, I've had to do some of the things that we've talked about in the previous episodes, where I've had to take a step back.
Mm-hmm.
I am not as available.
Yep.
I have put up walls. I've closed some doors, not all doors, but some doors of access.
And those are boundaries.
And those are my boundaries, because I went down a bit of a repair path and established boundaries, and boundaries weren't respected. So that was the reason why I kind of pulled back and said, nope, you don't get as much access anymore. And that was, So, like, I don't know. I think that's where I get stuck sometimes, because part of me wants the relationship to be different. And part of me knows that I cannot keep walking into the exact same dynamic, hoping this time it magically becomes safe.
Right.
That's the biggest thing for me. The biggest takeaway with where I'm at.
And so that's such like a real image, right? So in all honesty, thank you for sharing. Thank you for being vulnerable. And that door still opens from both sides. Mm-hmm. So that's, and that's one of the hardest truths about repair. Mutual repair requires mutual participation. One person can start healing, one person can own their part, and one person can set boundaries, and one person can grieve, and one person can stop repeating the pattern. But what one person cannot do is take both people's accountability. So you can't apologize for somebody else. You can't make somebody else understand the impact they had on you. And you can't force somebody to become emotionally safe by expressing or explaining yourself, no matter how perfectly you try to do it.
Which sucks, because let's face it, I do love explaining. I can explain something 17 ways and then circle back with a metaphor.
Right. And we love a metaphor. But sometimes the problem is not that you haven't explained it well enough. The problem, it's the other person, right? And it's not necessarily a problem, but it's just one of those things where it's like the understanding, the accountability is not there. And sometimes they're not willing to understand, because understanding would ask something of them. It would ask them to look at their own behavior and how it affected you.
Yeah.
And that's painful, because then the work becomes less about convincing them and more about protecting your own reality. That's not how I see it.
Well, and that's the important part, because I think when accountability is missing, you start to wonder if maybe you're the problem, if maybe you're too much, or maybe if you explained it better or softer or calmer with, a chart and maybe some snacks, because we know I love a murder board and some snacks.
Right.
And then finally they would get it.
Yeah. And that's where we get stuck. We get stuck right in that spot, because reflection is healthy. And we should always be asking, what is my role in this? What part did I play in this?
Mm-hmm.
And we should always be willing to consider our own behavior. And that's part of becoming an adult. But over responsibility is different, right? So over responsibility is when you start believing that if the other person will not take accountability, it must be because that you have not earned it, explained it, or, put your pain in a cute little box and presented it correctly. And that's not true. Sometimes somebody's lack of accountability is about their own capacity, their own defenses, their own shame, their own fear, or just the unwillingness to look at something honestly and say, like, oh, shoot, that's what happened. You can be clear, you can be kind, you can be thoughtful, and you can try to be the emotionally mature one, right? And still not get mad.
Well, and so for our listeners who are in that place, the question becomes, what do I need in order to stay emotionally honest when the other person will not validate my experience? Because waiting for someone else to admit the truth before you are allowed to heal can keep you stuck for years. So I think we should define something here, because people often use repair, reconnection, forgiveness, and closure like they are all the same thing, and they are not.
Yeah, they're definitely not the same thing at all. So repair is the process of addressing the rupture with honesty, accountability, and changed behavior, right? Where we walk into something and we're like, okay, let's lay it out on the table. This is my part, and I'm going to take accountability for it. Reconnection is when that happens, you can restore some of the relationship or the closeness after that rupture, because it feels good when people take accountability and it's necessary. So, and then we have forgiveness. So forgiveness is personal and it's complicated, and it may or may not ever happen. I'm not going to force forgiveness on anybody. You're allowed to be fucking mad. It's okay. Be mad.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen automatically just because somebody gets the same access to you, right? So they can still have access to you, but you still haven't forgiven them. And we don't know what people's situation looks like. So you may still have access to the people, and people who have hurt you may still have access to you. And then closure is when you find a way to stop organizing your life around that unresolved wound, even if the other person never gives you the conversation or the apology that you needed. And these don't always arrive together. You can have accountability without reconnection, and you can have closure without an apology, and you can forgive and still have boundaries. And you can love somebody and still know that they cannot be close to you in the same way that they were before. That's the dichotomy of it.
Well, and that's the important part to me. That's what feels important, because sometimes people pressure themselves, like, if I'm healed, I should be able to have this person in my life. But maybe healing is being able to tell the truth about why they cannot have the same access anymore.
Exactly. So healing does not always mean that the door reopens. Sometimes healing means that you have to stop standing at the door, begging someone to become safe. And that's hard. Like that hits home for me. And that doesn't, I didn't close that door out of hatred, and it does not have to be said with hatred, right? It can be said with grief, and it can be said with love, and it can be said with a very tired nervous system and a cup of coffee that has seen too much.
Spiritually exhausted cup of coffee.
Yeah, a coffee that needs its own support group.
Well, I also think people confuse forgiveness with pretending it did not matter. Like, if you still have feelings about it, and then you must not have forgiven them, or you must not be healed from it.
Yeah, and that can be a harmful misunderstanding, right? So having boundaries does not mean that you're bitter. Needing distance doesn't mean that you're pushing someone away. We're allowed to still feel grief, and it doesn't mean that we failed to heal because we had grief. We still have grief. Sometimes healing is not about making the relationship look the other way that people think it should be, right? It's just is. And sometimes that healing is able to say to yourself, like, that mattered, that changed me, and I can tell the truth about it. And it's my truth. And I can now decide what kind of access they have to me.
So I think a good listener question at that point would be, am I seeking repair, reconnection, forgiveness, or closure? Because knowing which one you actually need can save you from chasing something the other person may not be able to offer. So what does someone do when repair is not available, though? Like, that's probably a question going through your head. When the other person will not take accountability, or when the relationship is not safe enough for a repair conversation, what does someone do?
Right. Cry
Cry
in a corner.
Pine away with a single light in a dark room. No, we're kidding. We're kidding.
Well, the first thing that we have to learn to do is validate our own reality.
Yeah. That's tough.
It is hard. Right. So that doesn't mean we never reflect on your own, your part of whatever happened. It's that and it's not that you decide that I'm 100% right. I'm right. These are my feelings, so I'm right. Everything you say is wrong. It means you stop needing the person who hurt you to agree that you're hurt. You're just allowed to hurt, and you're allowed to take that pain seriously. It's yours. You can say, this affected me, even if they say it did not. You don't get to tell me how to feel.
Yep.
The next place is you have to be able to own your part. And that one's the hard one, because we always play a part in every story. And we have to own that part without taking on the other person's shit. That's the difference between accountability and over responsibility. So accountability is, here's everything that I contributed. Yeah, I saw. Yeah, I screamed. I yelled. I called you bad names. I own it. It's fine. It's not. It's fine. It's not fine.
It's not fine.
But we're taking accountability for it. So over responsibility is when you're like, oh, if I explain better, if I love harder, if I stay calmer, if I become smaller, or if I ask perfectly, maybe they'll finally change, right? So that is not repair. That's you trying to carry both sides of the bridge. And eventually your back is going to start hurting. Although my back already hurts because I'm over 40.
I was going to say, reaching 40, my back hurts all the time already. So,
right? So your back can hurt, but you also need to leave space for that grief. Sometimes that grief is not only about what happened. It's about realizing the repair that you wanted may not be possible with the person as they are right now. And that grief is real. It deserves room, It's not a tiny little emotional closet where you shove it because everyone else is uncomfortable. It's an actual room. And then there's boundaries around access. So if someone can acknowledge that impact that they had, and that's a really hard one, right? There's the impact and it affects you on a daily basis, and you're unsafe in that situation and you're feeling overwhelmed with the access that they have to you. they may need to not have the same access to your inner life. That doesn't have to be a punishment. It can just be protection. You're allowed to take care of yourself. So a boundary might mean like less contact. We talk about different things. Like I can call you up and I can say like, hey, how are you? I'm glad you're doing good. Oh yeah, the weather's crazy out here.
Mhm.
Yes, our whole friggin' basement flooded. Yay. No, you don't get to know what I'm doing this weekend. And no,
Right.
you don't get to know who I'm dating or anything that I'm doing other than we're going to talk about the weather and everyday things. And that's it. So, that's where we decide that some conversations need support and some conversations are not happening right now. But finally, when we decide that we're going to repair, and repair is not possible in one relationship, it matters to practice repair somewhere else. So with partners, friends, chosen family, community, people who can say, I hear you, I see my part, let me try again. Because practice makes perfect, right? And so our nervous system needs that new evidence of these things are possible.
Yep.
We can do these things.
Yep.
The relationship doesn't have to look like the relationship where we're fighting so hard to be loved, and we're fighting so hard to create repair, and we're fighting so hard to be understood, to finding our people that we're like, hey, you understand me. You love me. You don't have conditions. Yay, let's do that again. And so, that's where when our nervous system gets that, it's like it needs those relationships where rupture doesn't always mean denial or blame or you need to be fixed or silence.
No. That one's a big one for me.
Mm-hmm.
That one's huge for me because when repair is not happening in one place, it can feel like pretty easily like repair is not possible anywhere, but having relationships where people can come back and apologize and stay connected gives my body, your body, different information. It's like, oh, this exists. This is a thing that people can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And sometimes that's how we heal, right? And it's not because the original person finally becomes exactly who we needed, but because we experience enough safety elsewhere to stop believing that dysfunction, that rupture defines every relationship. And sometimes we forget that because it feels comfortable. That's what we're used to, right? Yep. So we're used to those things continuing to happen in our relationships. And for me, like that's where chosen family can be so powerful, because our chosen family is not magically perfect, even though I like to say that we are. Because
we're immaculate.
I know.
We are totally not.
We are chaos. We are
chaos.
Contained chaos? No, we are chaos. But we're still humans, right? And that's the whole thing. Like, we're still humans. We're going to be human. But because chosen family can become a place where people practice different systems. And these are systems where I can say, oh, damn, I saw that. And I hurt you. I saw that. I saw that look on your face and I hurt you.
Yeah.
I did not mean to yell at you when you were in the hallway the other day. I didn't know you were there.
You scared the shit out of me.
I was yelling at my kid.
And I was like, oh, I'm going to be quiet now.
I was like, hey, because I was so overstimulated. There was like 3 conversations going on in the room that I was in. And then y'all were having a conversation out there.
And we were being so loud.
But I could be like, oh, I saw the look on his face. Damn it. My bad. Like, I didn't mean to yell at you. I meant to yell at everybody else, just not you.
Just not me.
They're used to it. All I have to say is, hey. And they're like, and they walk away.
You got my attention.
Right? And that's a system where I can say I'm overstimulated. Yeah. I need a boundary. And this whole relationship doesn't collapse when I say, hey, I need a boundary.
Yes.
It didn't collapse. We didn't implode on ourselves I was allowed to be upset. I was allowed to be like, hey, shut the fuck up. And that's what we need. We need that system where repair is treated not like an inconvenience, but like as a part of loving each other well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, like, for the listeners, maybe you can ask yourself at this point, like, where do I have relationships that give my body different evidence? Like, where do I feel believed? Where can repair happen? Where can I be honest without immediately becoming the problem? So can we give, let's see here. Can we give examples on what repair actually sounds like? Because I think people know what bad apologies sound like.
Mhm.
Let's face it. We have heard all the classics. I'm sorry you took it that way. I guess I'm just the worst person ever. I already said sorry. Why are you still upset? Truly, the apology hall of shame has a very long hallway.
It does. It does. It has bad lighting, weird carpet, and nobody wants to be there. You know, real repair sounds different. It sounds like somebody staying like present instead of hiding behind defensiveness. It can sound like, ooh, I can see that me yelling in the hallway got a reaction out of you, and I really want to understand why. Or, hey, I was defensive at first, but now I'm listening. You're right. Ooh, that was a hard one to say, right? You're right.
You're right.
I did do that, and I am sorry. Or, I understand that my intention doesn't erase the impact that I had on you. I think that one's a big one.
That's a big one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then asking, you know, it's one of those things where I say it all the time, get curious.
Yeah.
What do you need from me now moving forward? If that person, you know, the mental load on that person is so heavy, don't ask them what they need. Just don't do what you did in the first place. Go to the point where you're like, you skip that question of what do you need from me going forward? Because sometimes clarity is kindness.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes people are really overwhelmed. So what we can do is say, hey, you know what? Here's what I'm going to do differently. And sometimes it also sounds like, hey, I need a minute because I am fully activated right now, but I'm not abandoning the conversation. I just can't have this conversation while we're yelling, but I want to come back to it. I love you, and I also need to have this boundary.
Yeah, that's a good one for me. Now on the receiving end, like repair probably would sound like I appreciate you owning that. I need time before I can trust the change. You know, I'm willing to keep talking, but I need us to slow down. Or I hear your apology, and I also need to see what changes. I'm not ready for closeness yet, but I am open to respectful communication.
Yes, absolutely. And sometimes on the receiving end, it might just be quiet because we don't know how to receive it yet. And that's okay.
Yeah.
As long as we're like, hey, you know what? I'm just processing. And, you know, that's really important to receive an apology. And it doesn't mean we're like instantly restoring access to us, right? Because access to somebody is a privilege, and we all need to understand that. Trust may need time. The body may need time. The relationship may need to have repeated evidence that this is going to continue to happen to feel safe.
Yeah.
So repair is not instantaneous. It's slow, and it's like food for the relationship, right? And you're just having a snack here and there, which is annoying because sometimes we're emotionally hungry and we would prefer a drive-through window where we can order 25 things from Taco Bell.
I don't know who does that.
I have no idea who does that, but I hope he's watching or listening.
Emotional, slow food. I hate that is so accurate.
Same.
Emotional, slow food.
I would also like emotional healing to come with fries and a 10-minute guarantee that my food's going to be there with a shake and everything that I wanted, you know. But apparently We have to do depth and integrity instead.
Boring.
Right.
So for listeners, maybe this is the practice. Listen for whether repair has action in it. Not perfection, not dramatic self-punishment, not a giant speech, but action. What is being owned? What is being changed? What boundary is being respected? And what happens after the apology?
Yeah. Those are really good
Boom.
things to notice. I know. I know.
Boom.
Like, I'm literally sitting here thinking about, like, what does that look like?
Yeah.
So I think when we come full circle, right, family systems help us to use and see a pattern, right? And rupture helps us name exactly where, oh, right there. That's where the harm was caused. And that's what we need to, like, I don't like that. And then repair helps us ask, okay, how do we change that? What needs to happen now? But repair cannot stand on its own with boundaries, which is a 20-part episode. Because boundaries are hard.
Boundaries are hard.
Without boundaries, though, repair can become a cycle where somebody hurts you, says sorry, then gets access to you again in the same way that. And when I say get access, I'm not like, you know, they get to be near you or
Right.
they get to, like, be a part of your everyday life. I'm talking about having a trusting, vulnerable relationship with somebody, because when rupture happens, we do take that step back, right? And we protect ourselves a little bit, and that's okay. So, you know, sorry doesn't, like, magically transform the pattern that's created. It's not repair. It's just that same loop with softer lighting.
It's like a raccoon getting in your kitchen in a little hat, like a raccoon in a little hat. It's still a raccoon, and it's still in your kitchen.
Right. I mean, granted, cute.
Cute.
Although I think
Trash
I'd be
pandas.
scared.
Yeah, trash pandas. We love
You're like,
them.
you're really cute. I know you want to love me, but you're probably going to eat my face off. So, you know, that's what we're going to talk about on the next episode, where while we continue to create this foundation of, like, what is all this shit that happens in everyday life, we're going to talk about boundaries, because boundaries is what makes repair sustainable. We have to hold those boundaries. There has to be accountability and consequence for actions. So funny. Yay. But boundaries help us answer what kind of access to me is healthy.
Mm-hmm.
What behavior can I participate in? What do I need in order to be connected without completely just abandoning who I am as a person?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know we all know that we've done that in a relationship at one point or another, where it's just like, never mind, I can just be like this. It's fine. And then what happens and what changes if the other person cannot or will not take any kind of accountability?
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, that kind of feels like the bridge, because when you're still in rupture, boundaries are not about punishing the other person. They are about not abandoning yourself while you figure out what is actually possible.
Yes. And that might be the heart, right, of this episode. Repair is beautiful when it's possible, but when repair is not available, self-abandonment is not the price of love. We do not get to give up who we are as a person to make other people comfortable.
Yeah.
That's not it. And I think that's especially important in families, right? Because so many people were taught that love means unlimited access. What is the blood is thicker than water?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that if somebody's your parent, your child, your sibling, your partner, your family, they're automatically entitled to, like, every part of you. But love without safety becomes really, really complicated. And love without accountability, it gets really heavy because you're carrying all of it, especially when you're the one that's noticing the pattern.
Yeah.
And love without boundaries can become self-abandonment dressed up as loyalty. No. No. And that's why we're here to tell people, like, you know, we're not here to tell you like cut everyone off or let everyone back in, because sometimes that's not a good idea either. So we're here to get curious, to ask better questions. What is possible? What makes me feel safe here? Has anything actually changed? What part is mine to own? And what are the parts that are not mine to carry?
Mm-hmm.
And what kind of boundary is going to help me stay connected to myself, whether or not the relationship can be repaired?
That feels like a good place to land, because rupture does not always give people a clean ending. Sometimes it gives you a question you have to live with for a while, but maybe the goal is not to force the ending. Maybe the goal is to stop abandoning yourself, like why you figure out what is true.
Mm-hmm.
So before I turn it over to you to close this out, I just want to say, if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends. You can find us on audio platforms if you prefer audio versions as well. Make sure that you follow along with Conversations with Mother on Facebook. We are also the podcast extension to House of Many Paths.
Yes.
That you can also find on all of it on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. So make sure you follow along. We're going to be posting some wonderful things up, and we got a bunch of things rolling for our website for House of Many Paths that we're excited and ecstatic to share with you. But if you liked this video, just give us a little thumbs up or a heart. I'm going to turn it over to you to wrap us up.
Ask questions. Tell us, give us ideas, whatever you want to do. Comments. We love them.
Yes.
So, thank you again for sitting at the table with us today. If you're in the middle of a rupture, I hope you give yourself permission to be honest about what broke, what you need, what's possible, and what's not yours to carry. Repair requires accountability, and healing can begin even when accountability never comes. However you love, however you heal, you are welcome here. From Mother's house to yours, be well.